Today on Gun Talk Nation, we've got Mr. Kevin Jarnagin, a.k.a. KJ. We're talking about going to the state capitol and fighting for gun rights. This Gun Talk Nation is brought to you by Armscor, Silencer Central, Silence Delivered, ATN, the future of optics, and Hodgdon, the gunpowder people. I like how Hodgdon just says, we're the gunpowder people.
But you know us because
it's what we do.
That's our thing.
We don't do anything else.
No one else.
So, KJ, occasionally we like to hit ourselves in the head with a hammer just for fun to remind ourselves why it hurts.
Well, yeah, every once in a while you got to do that. You have to do that every once in a while just because it's the thing we do.
I go maybe not as much as I'd like to, but I go as much as I can when things come up, when there's something important going on. And so we live about an hour from Baton Rouge. So it's an hour drive into the state capitol. And this is our little, hey, spoiler alert, this is a public service announcement that you need to get your ass to your state capitol.
Yeah.
I said the word.
You
I said
did.
a word.
Man, you went there. I was wondering if you're going there. I was like, oh, is he going to say it? But it's that important. You know, as like fathers, every once in a while, you have to raise your voice and you have to talk sternly,
Yes.
right? You have to talk sternly and get your attention. And that was one of those things.
So I got a call this weekend about a bill that was going to be coming up this week into a committee. And here's the bill. Okay. This is the general idea. And I think 47 or 46 states have some sort of state preemption law about the Second Amendment, which state preemption, if you're not familiar with it, it means that municipalities, cities, and counties can't make their own gun laws up, or at least depending on how the law is written, they can't make laws that are worse than what the state has on the books, more restrictive than what the state has on the books. And Louisiana has they have pretty good gun laws, and they have a really good state preemption. Well,
it allows you not to have like this patchwork of laws throughout your state, which we see that right? In states, which causes issues.
So what happened?
You'll get into that.
So House Bill 209 was proposed by a representative from New Orleans, and New Orleans was seeking their own basically exclusion from the state preemption. We want to be able to set up our own laws.
Right. So they weren't gun laws. They weren't. I think it's important to note they weren't passing a law here. They were just excluding.
They were passing gun laws
yet.
They were just trying to get approval to be able to pass their own gun laws.
Right. And this type of thing, it always comes up in states. You know, these bigger municipalities, you know, whether it's like in Austin, Texas, or these Dallas, Fort Worth areas, these larger
Seattle, Chicago.
Yes, Portland, that type of thing. They want to be excluded from the preemption laws in order to be a little bit more restrictive on legal gun owners. Yeah. Because let's be honest, that's who this is targeting. That's who this is for, because New Orleans really is like ran by Democratic folks.
Right.
Like, this is true.
I mean, like a lot of states, you have the tail that wags the dog, right? The majority, even like California, you have a really big population of conservative, gun-loving people in California. But then you have those bastions of liberalism with San Francisco, Los Angeles, and you know, it's tough to fight that. So anyway, that's what was going on. That's why we went up there. But what's interesting is going to the state capitals, number one, is in most places, you just go.
Yeah.
You don't have to get dressed up.
Oh,
you don't. You know, typically you cannot carry a gun or a knife or anything in there. You have to go through a metal detector, which is the case.
That's par for the course.
You've been before? What was your experience with it?
I mean, it was exactly what I thought it was going to be. I mean, you show up and you kind of gather outside the room before the doors officially open. Our doors were opening at like 9:30 or so. But you go up to the state capitol. You know, everybody's cordial with each other. Walking up. Because I've been tuned in to, like, you know, the anti-gun groups and they wear red shirts. Like, that was it.
The Moms Demand action.
I get there and Ryan and I kind of walk up and I'm like, well, these kind of look like my people, but they're all wearing red shirts.
I see a guy with a staccato hat on, but he's wearing red shirt.
So So that kind of threw me off a little bit.
So
I
what
was like,
happened
man,
is there's a group that have organized of gun people to say we're going to go to the Capitol when
Yes.
they're hearing gun bills, and they all wear either red or purple shirts to kind of basically show the politicians who they are and what they're all about.
Well, and sometimes, I mean, I don't really believe this was the case, but if they're out there and they're kind of on the fence and they're looking at it and they're like, well, which side is this important to? That's one of the biggest reasons to show up. And you had been asked to go.
Yes.
And Ryan, he got that phone call on Saturday and Ryan was planning on, he's going to speak. And I was like, well, I guess we're going to the Capitol. And Ryan, you were kind of like, oh, you're going to go? I'm like, well, yeah. I mean, part of it is showing up and being there in support and to show that this matters. We do not live in the New Orleans area.
No,
this didn't necessarily pertain directly to us, but we go there.
I mean, we're less than an hour away, and it would be like living in the suburbs of Chicago or the suburbs of Seattle or whatever. We use the New Orleans airport when we travel. We go there for concerts or go out to eat or entertaining clients when they're in town. It's the big city that's near us.
It's
and
what
obviously
you wanna go do.
New Orleans is a fun place. If you like that sort of thing, great restaurants, lots of activities, different festivals, fun stuff to do. They do have a crime problem, just like most major cities have crime challenges.
Right.
The problem with New Orleans is not a gun problem. One of the big problems with New Orleans is a culture problem, a culture of crime, but also not enforcing crime.
Oh my gosh. I think that was one of the biggest shockers to me is, they a lot. So they had a 3-second rule or 3-minute rule. I'm glad it wasn't a 3-second rule. We wouldn't have gotten a word in. But so they say so you can speak and you can plead your case for 3 minutes and then you have to, allot your time somewhere else or to whomever it is speaking after you. But that was what was interesting to me is the background that these legislatures and these representatives acquired to either, oppose or be in favor of.
Yeah.
That's where my jaw about hit the ground.
It's amazing when you hear the other side who is not in favor of gun rights, have them vocalize their reasoning. And so sometimes I can't tell if it's just dishonest or if it's just pure ignorance.
Or is it party line? Or is that they're just like, well, this is where I've got to stand on it, and I don't want to listen. I don't want to say that we're always like reasonable, but they don't want to hear that reason. They don't want to. You're not going to change my mind, no matter how much sense you make.
I think sometimes I feel like when I'm dealing with people who are anti-gun and typically more on the liberal side of things, right? Is I sometimes compare it to having a discussion with like a 10-year-old.
Oh, I was going to shoot way lower.
Well, and what I mean by that is they get real wrapped up in what seems good and sounds good and not what's reality, not what's fact. It's a feeling thing for them. And so, yeah, we had...
That came across in the people who were speaking.
Yeah, so you had people who were opposing the bill, us, and you had people who were in favor of the bill. And each gets to speak, and you can go the way we do it here. You fill out a card, and you fill in a card. Are you opposed to the bill, or are you in favor of the bill? And you can say, would you like to speak? Yes or no?
And they'll give you that option.
Yeah.
And so as we kind of approached and we started to say, okay, all these red shirts are with us because they want to be seen. You fill out a card and it just says, ask your address and what bill you're there to hear. And, we wrote out HB 209. And this is a committee. So this was the Criminal Justice
I think it's
Committee.
important to know that it's really important, if you can, to get there for the committee hearings of these bills before they get to the main floor for discussion and debate. Because at the committee level, you can really, I think, be more effective in making your voice heard about this. And there's a chance where you squash this thing before it becomes a big thing.
Right. And before it goes to ballot or before it is voted on. And I think you're 100% right. If you can get into these committees, But we have, and I guess, Ryan, that's kind of a question I'm going to toss to you, is we have the benefit of having someone kind of on the inside who reach out to Ryan, or they'll reach out to me and say, hey, we need you guys here. We need you to put out an APB, like, hey, get everyone out here for this. How would someone, let's say, out of our reach, go about like understanding, like, where do you hear about these bills coming up to committee?
I'll answer that right after this. Silencer Central, America's largest silencer dealer. New for 2022, the Banish 46. Yes, 46 caliber. You can shoot a 45-70 through this bad daddy. And the new Banish 338. Exceptional noise and recoil reduction. People don't talk about the recoil reduction enough on silencers. That's a big deal. If the Banish suppressor does not significantly reduce the report and recoil of your firearm, Silencer Central will buy it back. Wow.
I did not know that.
SilencerCentral.com. They make it super easy. Armscor Rock Island Armory, the STK 100 9mm, is Armscor's first striker-fired pistol. Features an aluminum frame, 1911 grip angle, extended beaver tail for greater control, and 17-round capacity. Optics ready for universal micro. They have plates for universal for microdots, and they'll actually give current owners a new sight plate for free because they keep updating things. They've actually lowered the MSRP to $499. Armscor.com is where you go to see that. And ATN, the future of optics. ATN Optics unites top-of-the-line performance with state-of-the-art technology in thermal and digital day and night vision systems that allow you to do more. ATN Optics give you that edge to perform better, whether you're in the field or on the range. Find your optic now, along with monthly promos and deals at atncorp.com. So you asked me, how do you stay abreast of this stuff, right? And I think there are a lot of different emails that you could sign up for. That seems to be one way to do it. I actually did get an email from the NRA about this bill going on, specifically in Louisiana. I think it was the day before.
It was.
And I would have liked a little bit more notice. Mm-hmm. Now, that being said, this stuff happens sometimes with short notice. I mean, I think some of the people there who were from the gun side of things complained because this bill was supposed to be heard like 2 weeks ago. Yeah. And then they tabled it. Mm-hmm. And so, like, basically people made the journey to Baton Rouge from wherever they are in the state, ready
to fight for
it. And then the committee goes, that House Bill 209, we're going to defer that. We're going to hear it in a few weeks. And you're like, I drove all the way here for this.
We actually had, and I guess you could, as long as you sign up for it, you could say whatever you want. But we had one lady that was speaking who, that was the only thing she wanted to do was complain about, hey, look, I drove all the way up here last time to hear this. You guys didn't hear it. How about this? How about we get all the gun bills heard at once? Like, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't I wanted to go like, hey, come on.
That'd be nice in a perfect world.
So a little patience goes a long way, I think. And being a part of your state groups, here we have Louisiana Shooters Association.
Yes. I mean, and the state groups should be the ones that are really on this. So it's the Texas Rifle and Pistol or New York or wherever you are. You got to follow your state groups and stay involved in it. And I get it. People always go, I got a job. I got a life. I got stuff to do. That's fine. Right. But can you go once a year?
Yeah, go once a year. Or how about
spend a half day?
Send a proxy. Oh, like, so you hang around in gun groups and you know other people that would be interested in this. Well, I can't go, but maybe Joe Smith over here could go. Yeah. You know, like, go down the line.
If you think about it, yes, we're all busy, but you could probably dedicate a day to it a year. And then if you couldn't, like you're saying, if you have a buddy who's retired, you're like, hey, Joe, you're retired. You want to go poke Democrats in the eye for a day?
Do you like to argue?
Do you have a buddy who is a lawyer? Yeah. Do you have a buddy who's a firefighter and he only works, 2 days, off, 2 days on? There's lots of options there. And I mean, we went, there were, I don't know, 25 people from the gun side, which is a pretty good turnout considering the size of the room. But man, you'd think, I mean, they said there's 125,000 people who have a concealed carry permit in Louisiana.
Yeah. That's
125,000 people.
They should all
care. We're not a big state. You should care about this stuff because they're going to restrict your rights. And the crazy thing, this crazy stuff that you hear. Okay.
Let's get into this.
All right.
Because this is what they really want to hear.
So, So they said, well, New Orleans is special. We're special. I'm like, you're different from Shreveport or Baton Rouge or any other sizable city in the state of Louisiana. Right. They don't have crime. Well, we're special. And we need to be able to restrict guns to help with our crime situation. And like, we don't want somebody being able to just walk into a Saints game with a gun or walk into the jazz festival with a gun. And I wanted to raise my hand and go, you can't do that already. They have metal detectors.
Ryan and I are kind of in the back. We're kind of on the back row of the center aisle. And Ryan's over there, like we're leaning over every 5 seconds going, they can't do that. I mean, there's no way. Like Ryan's been to, I don't know how many Jazz Fest. And he's like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
There's no way you're getting in there with a gun.
Yeah. Like, I mean, it's not just there's a no gun sign.
No,
you have to go through a metal detector.
Yeah.
So, and then they said, well, one of our problems in the city is the bad guys get the guns because they steal them out of cars. People leaving guns in cars. Okay. So then they say, but we want to restrict access to people bringing guns into anywhere that serves alcohol. I mean, it could be an Applebee's and anywhere. So you go to New Orleans or you live in New Orleans and you're carrying because you're in New Orleans. You better be.
You're going to be carrying.
And then you go, oh, I can't carry into this restaurant. I guess I'll go leave it in my car.
Yes.
Right.
Well, and then what happens then? Like, well, if they don't get them from the cars, they're going to get them from the houses. Break-ins, burglaries.
Sure.
I mean,
and so it was actually interesting as we went through this to hear what people would say. They tell stories of violence and like people getting shot. Now, those are sad stories, but if you listen to it with a logical mind and don't get caught up in the emotion of it was sad that this person died. How would any of these proposed rules
especially this one, how would House Bill 209 to exclude them from preemption affect crime and the real issue? And you brought up, and it kind of at the first of the show, is the statistics that were thrown out there. Now let's talk about that, like because this pairs hand in hand with what we're talking about. On the problem is not the excluding yourselves from preemption; it's the crime in your city. And they had a statistic that I was just floored by.
It was really damning. Well, three of the first witnesses that were in favor of this bill were a deputy chief of police from OPD, the New Orleans DA, and a New Orleans city councilman. And the New Orleans DA is up there. He's talking about how, we're trying to crack down on crime.
Yes.
The chairman of the subcommittee goes, well, I got some stats for you. Okay. New Orleans.
This doesn't end well for the DA.
Get ready for the crickets sound effect. Okay. He says last year, 2021, New Orleans, of all the people who were arrested, you brought charges on 1,800 people. Okay.
Okay. Wow.
And we're like, okay. He goes, your next door neighbor county, we call them parishes here, but county, Jefferson Parish, which is similar in size, maybe a little bit smaller.
It's smaller. Yeah.
6,500 cases.
Oh, okay. What about the others?
What about
they've got to be smaller?
7,000. And then he said, do you know how many criminal trials that you ran in New Orleans last year?
And they have 12 judges.
4 criminal trials in New Orleans last year. So he said, it seems to me.
Let that settle with you a little bit. Like, think about this.
I mean,
4.
Any large city, how is that even possible?
It's 1.25, man.
Have
1.25.
4 criminal trials, guys. So it was pretty eye-opening. And when he said that, what do you think? Maybe Maybe you don't need 12 criminal court judges. Maybe we'll change the budget. We'll just give you guys 3. And
of course they're like, the silence was deafening.
Yeah.
When he read those stats, and that's one thing you look for are representatives that will challenge these bills. And it was really impressive to see how they came ready to fight this. Like, they actually prepared for this. They weren't just sitting back reading it for the first time. They've actually examined this, and they poked so many holes in the bill that I started to feel sorry for him. I really did. I mean, you start to sit there and go, oh my gosh, you're fighting an uphill battle.
Yeah, it was like, I could box Mike Tyson. And you're like, I guess I'll watch it.
But I want to get to the story about you, because you were going to talk.
Right.
And I want to hear what you were going to say. Because you had a lot of excellent points that weren't made in the stand, because
he's alluded to the fact that I didn't talk, and we'll tell you why right after this. Sig Sauer, the new P322 from Sig, is their first U.S. designed and manufactured 22 LR pistol. 20 plus 1 round capacity. That adds up to 21. More than any other compact 22 on the market. And they thought of everything. It's optics ready. It has a thread adapter. It's a single action trigger with interchangeable shoes. So whether you want a curved trigger or a flat trigger, you can just swap that out. It comes with the gun. Fully adjustable fiber optic sights. SigSauer.com is where you go to find out more. Hodgdon powders for 75 years. They've been the ones passionate about hunting and shooting sports and bringing in all this powder. So largest U.S. supplier of smokeless powder, black powder, and substitute propellants. They continue to expand with the addition of accurate powders, Ramshot to the family. And the big deal is you can find out more about reloading at HodgdonReloading.com. Springfield Armory, their new Hellcat Pro combines performance, concealability, and capacity into one. This is a 9mm. It's 15 plus 1 capacity, but it's compact. It doesn't, when I say 15 plus 1, it sounds like you're thinking of a particular size gun. Guess what? It's smaller than that. It's the smaller footprint than any other gun in its class. It's optics ready and equipped with an accessory rail and hammer forged barrel. Springfield-Armory.com. So there I was. I had my remarks prepared, and I was ready to do this. Spoiler alert. I didn't speak, and it wasn't because I chickened out. We had I guess 3 people from our side go.
5, yeah.
They went, but they called up some names, and it was made clear to me by someone in the audience giving me the head nod. We have the votes. There's no need for you to speak. Everyone,
know when to stop.
In sales, they say when you've made the sale, it's time to shut up.
Yes.
When someone goes, yeah, okay, I'll do that. I'll buy. Stop talking.
You've done it. Congratulations.
And this is one of those math things when, especially, it's really easy in a subcommittee hearing when there are 10 representatives sitting up there. They've got enough for a quorum, so they're holding the hearing, and you go, 9 of these people are on our side,
and it's near lunchtime. It's ready to go.
Yeah. So so what happened? As KJ said in the beginning, this bill got beat down.
Oh.
They lost 9-1. It got deferred, so it's not going moving on. But what I was going to talk about is the patchwork of laws that this can create when you just destroy what we have with state preemption, when you start saying, oh, everybody can make their own laws.
Right.
And the story that I wanted to talk about is, yes, okay, New Orleans has a crime problem. You're right about that. And that's the reason citizens want to carry guns for their protection.
Yes.
They actually had a study just last week. First 3 months of the year, we finished that. We're in April now. First 3 months of the year, what was the response time of the New Orleans Police Department? For non-emergency calls, it was over 2 hours. For emergency calls, come right now, this is an emergency.
Like, I'm being mugged.
28 minutes.
28 minutes.
Was their average response time. Think about that. 28 minutes.
What could
in an
you
emergency.
What could you do in 28 minutes? Think about that. Like, so, I mean,
a bad person or bad guys in your house, bad guys in the street. I mean,
or an active something's happening.
Let's go worse. Active shooter.
28 minutes.
How long? I mean, a half hour. When I was a kid, when I used to ask my parents how far it was to another place, they would tell me how many like TV shows it was away, because that's how my brain
that's
worked.
Fair, yeah,
it was a half-hour sitcom, you know, like
yeah.
So I mean,
you're an episode of Gunsmoke.
Yeah,
away.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, it's an episode of I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
So,
Saved by the Bell.
Yeah, Saved by the Bell. Away. I was a kid, right?
I mean, yeah.
So I said, you know, this is kind of what I would like to talk about is this is why people are carrying guns, like Shaneen Allen. Let's talk about Shaneen Allen. Shaneen Allen, a Philadelphia medical worker, single mother. She gets pulled over driving through neighboring state of New Jersey. She tells the officer, I have a gun in the car, but don't worry, I also have a carry permit. And he goes, let me see that. Well, guess what? She's not permitted to have that gun in New Jersey because New Jersey has its own set of laws that are way different and way more restrictive. She got arrested.
And this is on her daily route home.
Yeah. I mean, she lives like right there, right?
Right.
She got arrested. She spent 40 days in jail. 40 days, single mother. I don't know what happened with her kids during that time.
Well, what happened with her job? She lose
what
her
happened
job?
to your job, with your kids, all that stuff. And she ended up, after a long legal battle, getting pardoned by the governor of New Jersey, which was remarkable because it was such a public case. And I think that's why it was able to happen. But that's just an example of what this does is creating a patchwork of laws that are hard for law-abiding citizens to adhere to. And just, you know, another thing they said is, well, the one representative that was in favor of this bill, she kept saying, well, if you don't want to come to New Orleans and adhere to the gun laws, then don't come to New Orleans.
Right.
And then she was like, well, it's just no big deal. And number one, you will lose in New Orleans. Let me tell you, you guys probably know, even if you haven't been to New Orleans, it's all about tourism.
100%.
That's the entire majority of their economy is tourism. So, and yes, people will stay away if you have bad gun laws. And,
they won't. There's no way.
And then you have the people who don't get to stay away. I mean, I-10 runs through New Orleans. So it doesn't even matter if you're making New Orleans part of your trip. If you're driving from Houston to Jacksonville, you're probably going to go through New Orleans. And think about that. Now you
drive from Texas, where they love guns. They love gun law. They're good.
Right.
Then all of a sudden you get pulled over in New Orleans, and now, no, you can't have that.
Right. You can't have that. You can't carry that here. Your carry permit's no good here. Whatever that may be.
I mean, but look at it this way. If you look at it this way, I mean, they're not prosecuting anybody, so you might be able to. You might be okay.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you that wouldn't happen. There's no way they would start prosecuting those folks.
Yeah, they'd like to make an example.
Make an example of it.
Bad gun owner people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you guys do it now. We're talking to you right now. Sign up for email news alerts from your state groups. Follow what's going on in your state.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those things that once it starts snowballing, it's hard to get a hold of it. But if you can show up and squash this stuff, this is another thing. Even if you're in a state where you're like, I don't know, it's not real gun friendly or whatever. If you start getting 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 people to show up to these subcommittee hearings that are all gun people and they're all voicing their concerns, sometimes these politicians are kind of chicken. And they're like, maybe this is,
this not my fight.
They may not, exactly. They may not like the gun stuff, but they may go, we're just not going to touch that subject. Yeah. Let's go on to other stuff.
It's like I'm not even there.
Yeah. I mean, just not show up for that one.
Right.
Which is fine. They had a golf game that day.
Yeah.
I'm not going to show up.
I had a lunch.
And have to vote on gun bills.
Right. I mean, it's important. And even if it's not in your state, like if there's some big things happening, national level, a state beside you, somewhere that might be on your route to work, or municipalities. Like, reaching out to these people is a good thing. I mean, even if it's not you, I mean, it's let people know.
Yeah.
Show up.
So that's our little encouragement to you guys. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope it gave you some tips. And if you do go to a state capitol, we'd love to hear from you. Email us, info@guntalk.com. And we'll see you next time on Gun Talk Nation.